Welcome to the Effortless English Show with the world's #1 English teacher, AJ Hogue, where AJ's more than 40 million students worldwide finally learn English once and for all, without the boring textbooks, classrooms, and grammar drills. Here's AJ with a quick piece to help you learn to speak fluent English effortlessly.
I'm AJ Hogue, the author of Effortless English. Learn to speak English like a native. Father of the Effortless English system. I train you, I teach you. Speak English fluently. You speak English confidently. You speak English powerfully. You speak English effortlessly when you commit to my VIP program at effortlessenglishclub.com. Go there. Commit, don't quit at effortlessenglishclub.com. Doing our book club today, Chapter 5 of Your Money or Your Life. So continuing with our same book, Your Money or Your Life. And we will be reviewing and discussing Chapter 5 today. The title of the chapter is Seeing Progress, Making Life Energy Visible. We are live on YouTube. Looks like we've got a lot of people joining. I think we're good. So, let's do it. Let's jump in and do Chapter 5. And then, of course, I'll come back to live comments and questions. Chapter 5. Here we go. Okay, so Chapter 5 is about, now we're going to add time. So, right, up to now, like last chapter, that we talked about counting every penny. You know, if you're talking about dollars in America, we'd say every penny. Count every penny. Count every cent that you spend. So you count everything you spend each month. And of course, your income. Well, now what you're going to do is make a chart, a wall chart, a chart to put on your wall, so that you can see every month your progress. You're going to have 2 lines on the chart. Line number 1 will be your expenses. How much did you spend each month? And you'll just put a dot, for each month. You'll put a dot, a dot, a dot. And of course, you connect these dots with a line. That's your expense line. Hopefully that will be going down with time. And then a second one will be your income. How much money did you make that month? If you have a job, it will just be the same probably. The same every month, but maybe you get a raise. Maybe you start a small business, whatever. Somehow you make some extra money, so hopefully that income will eventually go up. And you want to see a nice gap between the two. Okay, so I'm just going to go through some of the main points from the book. You want this graph, this chart, to be big enough for 3 to 5 years of data. All right, so you want to do this for, I'd say, 5 years. So this needs to be, fairly large. You might need a couple pieces of paper. You can use graph paper, right, with the little squares on it. Maybe use 2 of them, tape it on the back, something like that, or just get a really big one. And allow enough space at the top for your income to double. So you want to, on this graph, it needs to be big enough so that your income can go up. Because hopefully in 5 years, your income will go up a lot, maybe even double if you're doing really well. Okay, and then they kind of show, if you're watching on video, you can see there's they just show graph paper. And, on the left side is the amount in dollars. Of course, you can use your own currency. You can use your own money, whatever you're using in your country. And so they've got, 100, 200, like each square is, I don't know, looks like they've got each square is about $50. Right, so 2 squares equals $100. You can do it as you want, but you want it to be small enough so that you can measure even fairly small changes. So maybe each square is something like around $50. If you're living in America, you'd use dollars. And then along the bottom of the graph is our months. So they're just using letters like J, F, M, A, M, January, February, March, April, May, etc., right? And then for each year, maybe put a big, like a heavy line, and then you start again. So along the bottom, each square is a month. Maybe every 2 squares is a month, something like that. And along the left side, going up, is money. Okay, and then very simple. This is super simple. I told you this whole thing is simple. At the end of each month, you will put 2 dots, right? You'll put 2 dots. 1 dot will be for your income. How much money did you make exactly, or at least almost exactly, that month? That's 1 dot. And then the other dot is how much money did you spend that month? Use 2 different colors. Use different colors. So you might, I don't know, you could put your spending in red and your income in black. That's kind of a traditional way to do it, but you can use any colors. It doesn't matter, but just use 2 different colors. One for your income and the other for your expense. The next month, you do the same thing. 2 more dots, right? One for your expense, how much did you spend? And one for your income, how much did you make? Then connect the dots from the last month to this month, right? So connect the expense dots to each other with a line. Again, use 1 color for that. And connect the dots for your income from last month to this month. Use a different color. And that's it. So you can imagine now over time you're going to have a line, right? Each month your expenses may be going up and down a little bit, depending how much you spend each month. So, but you'll see a kind of a trend, right? You'll see a trend, meaning a pattern with time, with your expenses, and then your income as well. Again, if you have a job like with a salary, that might just be exactly the same line for a while. If you work per hour, it might change a little bit each month. And again, hopefully it goes up eventually. And that's what you're going to do. You're going to just continue plotting, marking. Plotting just means recording your expenses and your income every month, every year. Just keep going for years and years and years. And you're going to see more and more of a pattern. Okay, then they talk about just a few different cases. So case number 1, in the beginning, your first month or your first few months, you might have a depressing situation. Your expenses might be more than your income, meaning each month you're going into debt. You're losing money every month. It means you're probably using credit cards or some other loan or something, going into debt. Then they basically just say, don't panic. If that's the situation, accept it, try to be calm, and then gradually start working on it to improve it. But don't panic, don't go crazy. And they tell a few stories about different people from their classes that, of course, what they want to do is you want your expenses to generally drop. You want to see that line, the trend line of your expenses over time. You want to see it going down, right? You want to gradually see that going down, or hopefully you want to see it going down very fast so that you're cutting your expenses with time, that each month the expenses are dropping, and certainly with every year you can see a nice big drop of your expenses on that chart, on that graph. Okay, and then they talk about, again, the same, this is a review from the last chapter, that every time you spend, continue to ask the same questions. Did I receive fulfillment? Did I receive satisfaction? Did I receive happiness and value equal to how much life energy, how much money, how much time, how much life energy I had to spend, right? And just keep asking yourself this every time you buy something. This awareness, this question, again and again and again and again, will gradually help you get more self-control, and you will reduce your expenses. And the second question, is this, what I'm buying, is it in alignment with my values and my life purpose? So that's the other one you ask yourself. You're buying something. Does this fit? Does this go with? Is it in alignment with my values and my purpose in life, my big purpose or purposes? And again, if the answer is no, then don't spend it. Don't buy it. Okay, and there's a story about this woman named Diane, and just to give you an example of what's possible, when she started, her expenses were $4,500 per month. $4,500 per month. That was her first month when she did her chart on the wall. And then after a while, I don't think they say how long, but anyway, after a while, she cut her expenses to, well, basically to around $1,000 per month. That's a huge drop. That's like a 75% cut in her expenses, from 4,500 down to around 1,000. So that's a big, big, big cut. She cut a large amount from her expenses. Very nice. Okay, and then they basically just make a point that it's good if you put the chart somewhere, you will see it a lot. Like, so instead of hiding it, don't hide it. Put it on your wall. Put it on your wall somewhere where you will see it every day. You'll see that chart. And then as, month by month by month, you will notice the lines, the expense line and the income line. And hopefully that income line is getting a little higher and the expense line is dropping, dropping, dropping. And this shows you that you are living your values, right? When you have that big gap, you want that gap between the two, that space. Then the next they talk about, of course, your overall goal, your big goal. You might need 5 years, you might need 10 years. But your goal is financial independence. That means you have enough income to pay for your basic needs and comforts. You have enough income, enough money to pay for, your basic life, how you want to live. But the income is not from a job. That's the key thing. It's not from a job. So you're free at that point. But they said, of course that might take a while. It might take 5 years, might take 10 years, whatever. But there are some smaller goals that are also very important. And the first smaller goal is to get out of debt. A lot of people owe money, right? The people buy cars and they owe money. They have debt, right? They get a loan to buy the car. Houses are a big one. People buy houses and they owe a huge amount of money. Student loans, especially Americans, have a lot of student loans. That was my big one. Credit cards, another big one that people have, where they owe a lot of money for credit cards. So you want to get that to zero, where you have zero debt, nothing. You owe no money at all. There's no debt at all, nothing. That's a great first step to financial freedom, to financial independence. Yes, of course, eventually you want to not need a job. But before that, you can eliminate all your debt. That can be like, if you have debt of any kind, that can be a good first goal. I'm going to get rid of all debt, zero debt. And then the next goal, they say, is saving money. To increase your savings rate. If you're looking on the video, you can see they have a little example chart. They have 2 lines up on the kind of right. And the top one is, income, and the bottom is expenses. And then the gap, the space between the two, that's your savings. And you want that savings gap, that space between the 2 lines, you want that to grow and grow and grow. That means you're saving more and more and more money every month, right? If your income's going up, 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 and your expenses are going down, 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 then obviously that's a lot of extra money. You want that to increase. You You want that to be increasing, where your savings rate is increasing. That's your next goal. First, eliminate debt. Don't worry about savings. Get rid of all the debt first. Step 2, increase the savings amount, cutting your expenses and trying to improve your income too. And they give an example that, like they've had people in their classes and that most of them at minimum 20% savings. That means that you are, your income each month, you only spend 80%, the other 20% you save. That's minimum. You should be able to save more than that. But that's a good first goal, 20%, and then keep improving it. Finally, they just make the points. The benefit of this is it's a feedback system. Meaning, by looking at that chart every day, you're seeing it. It's reminding you of your financial situation, right? It's like a quick picture of your financial situation right on the wall every day. You see it, right? If it's a bad situation, well, then your expenses are quite high. Your income's not high. Maybe there's no gap at all, no savings. Maybe it's negative. You're actually losing money every month. You're going into debt. But at least that reminds you. Every day you have to look at it and you go, oh, my money situation's terrible. Oh. And this provides a kind of motivation and feedback every day, every month. You're adding again, you're putting those dots every month. And it gives you this feedback, right? This information coming back to you every month of your true financial situation. And this will help you over time get more control and improve that situation. And that's it. It's very simple. That's it. So it's really just about, this chapter is about making it visual. That's the key part of this chapter, is that this chart, you want to make it visual and you want it to be kind of in your face, we say, right? In your face means you can't avoid it. You have to look at it every day. You have to see this every day, right? Because if it's just numbers, if you just write it a paper, just on like a balance sheet, and you just do it in a notebook, it's not quite the same. You don't have that visual picture to look at, especially over time, month to month to month, year to year to year, to see the direction, to see the patterns. So doing this graph, this chart is very important. So that's number one. But don't just, you can do it on a computer if you want to. It's okay. You can do it in a notebook, but don't only do that. You must put it on the wall. Very important that it must be on your wall in your home. It can be in your room. It could be in the living room. It could be in the kitchen. Put it somewhere you will see it all the time. And that's very important. It's, again, building your awareness, focusing your mind, your energy onto this situation, your financial situation, and reminding you again and again and again every single day. And that's it. Very simple. We'll go to questions and comments now. Hi, Fernanda, first of all. How am I doing? I'm doing well. Thank you very much. One second. Let me just, I need to change a setting on my computer. One second. Hi. There we go. And, one second. One more thing. There we go. Okay. Back. All right. Just kind of getting through to the comments now. Yeah. Okay. Right. So, Joseph, this is just what I was talking about. Joseph says we can use Excel or Google instead of paper. Not instead of. You can also use Excel or Google, or you could do it on your computer and then print it every month. But the key thing is you want it on paper. Paper is important. And that is true. They say, this is the authors, the writers of the book say this, and I agree. You want it to be physical. You want it to be on your wall, not just on your computer, on your wall, looking at it every day. You can't escape the truth of your financial situation, good or bad. Mariam says, buying stuff makes people happy. How can we make ourselves happy? Well, yikes. You get a little small thrill from buying stuff sometimes, but how can you make yourself happy? You really need to think about this. Because if you can't think of how to be happy except for buying things, that's kind of sad. You got to think about your life. Love, relationships, children, family, religion, God, meaning, purpose, contributing and helping others, exercising, walking in nature, meditating, reading, learning, on and I could keep talking for hours. All these things, they're all free. Paulika says, lately I cut my expenses for video games to almost zero. My budget for books stays the same, but I can still save a little. There you go. This is how you do it. You find just find little areas. And here's another important thing, like connected to our topic today with the graph, the chart on your wall, is that you don't need to cut everything in 1 month. Okay, so don't get stressed out about it. Okay, you don't need to go cut 75% of your expenses in 1 month. Okay, that is stressful. If you think about that, that's a huge change. And you might think, oh my God, I can't do that. No, just try to cut a little bit every month. So the line keeps dropping. Okay, that's much less stressful. Just improving a little each month. Paulika, you find one little area in your spending that you can cut. Paulika found one area, video games. I'm going to cut my video game spending. That's it. He doesn't have to cut books and food and everything else all at the same time. Just cut that. Boom. So on the chart, he's going to see next month, his spending will drop. His expenses will drop. Great. Now the next month, then you ask the same question. What else can I cut? A little bit. And you just keep cutting, and that line keeps dropping. And it's much less stressful than trying to cut everything suddenly. Abraham says, I think we should save gold and silver instead of money because value of money is going down. Well, yes, that's sort of another question. We'll talk about that more when we get to the section about what do you do with your extra money? Because you're going to start saving it. That's great. And your savings will grow and grow. Then you have to figure out, well, now what do I do with all this extra money? That's a good problem to have. It's a very nice problem to have. I have a lot of extra money. What should I do with it? But we'll get to that in later chapters. They're going to talk about this. And gold and silver, yes, are one option and not a bad idea. Nasser says, the big expenses are houses and cars. Is it better to buy a house first or start a business and buy a house later? I would choose number 2. Start a business. House is not a necessity. You don't need a house, rent, and you can rent in a fairly cheap place. So if I had extra money, I would use it to start a business instead. I still don't own a house, put it that way. I'm financially independent, and I still do not own a house. I've never owned a house. Abdo says, Robert Kiyosaki said a sentence that astonished me, surprised me. Only poor people build their business with their own money. Yeah, that's a nice comment. He's right. He's not 100% right, honestly, but his idea that what he's trying to say with this is correct. He's talking about, is there two kinds of debt, one good and one bad? What do you think? Right. What he means is this, that poor people get bad debt. They go out, they borrow a lot of money personally, and they use their own money. And he's saying that rich people will use debt intelligently. He's got a point, especially if you're starting doing bigger businesses and bigger deals. The problem is it comes with a risk. It's a fairly big risk if you're new, if you don't know what you're doing. So I would say, Robert Kiyosaki, I would not use debt to build a business for your first business. If you become really good at the business, if you really know what you're doing, if you know how to limit your risk, all of that, you're quite experienced, then yes, of course, like big business people use debt to build businesses all the time. But it's a bad idea if you're just starting. For your first business, I recommend start something with very little money that's very low risk and protect yourself. It's just a different mindset, but it comes with quite a big risk. And I think for people that are not experienced, who really don't know what they're doing very much, the risk is too big. That's just my opinion. Abdullah Osman says, if the income of a person doesn't increase, but the person manages to save money, is that saving considered as increasing income? No. It's just an increase in savings. Income is just the amount of money coming in each month from a paycheck, from a business. It's the amount added to your bank account, right? Your checking account each month. Income. Savings is what's left at the end of the month, right? So you have your income, the money comes in, then you spend, right? You spend that money. And then at the end, what's left? If there's some extra money, that's your savings. So it's not income. Just don't count it as income. It's a separate thing, savings. Now, of course, if you invest your savings then can create income. But that's another chapter. We'll talk about that later. Yeah, Iman Fad says, if we stick it on our walls, maybe it will cause depression for us. Yeah, I know, kind of joking. But yes, that's the point. You want it to cause, not really, you don't want it to cause depression, but you want to see it. You want it to remind you again and again that your financial situation is bad. Stop hiding from it. Stop pretending. You need to do something about it. So it is a reminder there. If the situation's not good, well, then that wall chart is kind of, like telling you silently every day, change. Priscilla says, as I started to save money, family members began to borrow money. Well, don't tell them you're saving money. Your secret. I want to help them, but I see they are irresponsible. What do you advise? Stop lending them money. I don't lend money to anybody. I have a policy. I don't lend money. I only give it. So if I don't want to give it, then they don't get anything. But I do not lend money, and especially not family, because then lending money creates too many bad feelings. Too many bad feelings. You have a bad feeling because you're like, give me my money back, please. I need you. You have to ask them again and again. They have a bad feeling because they try to avoid you and all. Don't lend money to them. Just say, sorry, I can't do it. You don't need to give a reason. Just say, sorry, I can't. Sorry, I can't. And don't talk about your savings to them if people who, yeah, don't do it. My advice is to say no from now on. Yeah, Mariam, and by the way, I wasn't trying, sorry, I didn't mean to sound so hard with you. I was not really focusing on you, but on the general idea that we can be happy without spending a lot of money. Yeah, someone joking here. Munivov says, sell your car, sell your home, live in a car, and be homeless in Athens. It's one option. That's what I did. Yeah, like Lisa says, if we always keep in mind to keep it in our eyes, right? Keep it in your, in your face, we say. Keep it in your face. Then our current keep your financial situation in your face. It's right there in your face. It's on this chart on the wall. You can't escape it. So Lisa says, then we are not easily tempted to spend recklessly. Yes, that is one of the benefits of this chart. It just reminds you every day, be careful with your money. Have some control. This is kind of my motto too. Small Lucy, Big Lucy says, these days my life motto is less stuff, more experience. I agree. It's experiences in life that are great. The stuff, it's okay, but yeah. Yeah, like Abdo's saying again, following up, if I want to build a business with a loan from a bank, my chance of failure is higher. Yeah, so don't do it. My advice to you is don't do it. Build a business that does not require a loan. There are many ways to do it. There are many businesses you can do. I did not take a loan for my business. There are many kinds of businesses that require no loans, very little money to start. Just you have to work a lot. You got to work hard. Yeah, Ken says, I just bought journals from Dan Graziosi. And Tony Robbins. They're going to help me to write my financial statements. What do you think about this? It's a great idea. Do it. Is it helpful? Yes. Writing out your financial statements is definitely helpful. It's another way to get, like, when we did Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, he recommended that you make a balance sheet, a kind of accounting technique. It's another kind of chart, just a different way to show your financial statement, your financial situation. It's also great. So you can do other things also. Just do the wall chart also. The wall chart is just so simple and very, very visual. That's why it's great. It's just so you can look at it and in 1 second you see a nice picture of your financial situation. That's what's great about it. But you can also do things like having your balance sheet every month, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You can do, Tony Robbins has a nice, system for seeing your financial situation. You can use all of these things. They're all good. They're all giving you more information and a more clear picture of your situation. So they're all good. They're all fine. Yep, so another nice quote. This is the sort of, I believe this is a Fight Club quote. Maybe it came from somewhere else too. But Zohar says, economics is all about, personal economics, I think we're talking about, is all about consumption, right? Consuming, buying, spending. Here's the quote. Too many people spend money they haven't earned to buy things they don't want to impress people they don't like. Yeah, it's kind of a paraphrase. It's quite similar to a quote in the movie Fight Club. Similar idea. Yeah, and it's pretty true. If you had $10,000 in savings when you were 23, What would you do with it? Nothing. Keep it. I don't know. Keep it and start to learn about investing. Or maybe, you start reading about investing, but I'd invested in some very, very, very conservative things. We'll talk about this later in the book. Again, later in this book, in the future chapters, we will talk about investing. But I follow the general philosophy of this book, and that means that investing very, very, very conservatively. I mean, there's always a risk when you invest. There's a risk even, like Abraham said, there's a risk just keeping cash because of inflation and other things. So there's always some risk, but I like to keep the risk as low as possible. Other people like a higher risk. It's okay. But you have to know and be careful. I recommend starting with low risk and learning, and then you can start to take a little more risk with some of your investments. Priscilla says, do you think, Priscilla, this is Priscilla Lorerio. See if I can pronounce your last name. Lorerio. Anyway, do you think it's important to save money to buy a home of your own or live in a rented house? As I said before, I don't think it's important to own your own home. Not at all. If you want to, but I don't. I never have. Okay, now I'm not a great investor, guys. As I said, I'm a super conservative investor, meaning I like to just keep the risk low. I'm not trying to make huge amounts of money from investing. That's my approach. So I'm not going to give it, I don't have a lot of great advice for investing personally. But anyway, I'll answer the questions. Paulika says, what do you think about currency trading? That's like, dollars, yen, euros, trying to make money from the exchange rates, basically. That part of my savings, I usually trade for dollars. I like to save in other currencies, then I can't spend it easily. That's a nice mindset. If you do put it in another currency, right? If you are in Europe, so you're using euros normally, and you save in dollars, at least some of your money in dollars. It's a good point. It's harder to spend it because to spend it, first you have to convert it back to euros, then you spend it. So if it kind of psychologically prevents you from spending it, I like that. It's a good idea. Actually trying to make money from the exchange rates is, again, not easy. So you really have to know what you're doing, and I would say just be careful and don't do it with all your savings, just some. But for this kind of reason, I think it's totally fine. Yeah, like Fernanda says, I wish to have that problem soon. What to do with my extra money? Yeah, Tony Robbins calls these high-level problems. It's a problem, but it's a nice problem to have. It's a better problem than how can I survive because I have no money, right? That's a bad problem. What do I do with all my extra money? That's a nice problem. Yeah, so this kind of short-term thinking here from Azbadek. My point of view, saving everything would cause a lot of stress. Well, I didn't say save everything. If buying things is the only thing that makes people happy, it's not bad, it's great. Now you're wrong. If buying things is the only thing that makes people happy, you are a sad, miserable person. I guarantee you're not happy. Because buying things does not make people happy. It gives you a very short little excitement. Ooh, I got the new car. And then after a month or 2 months, sometimes after a week, Then you're bored with it, and you're no longer happy or excited about the new car. It's just your same old car now. So then you got to go buy more. Never ends. This creates a huge amount of financial stress. So if you think that the only thing that makes people happy is spending money, well, that means you are, God, that's just sad, man. That's sad. That's not a happy person. I guarantee that's not a happy person. A person who gets the most happiness from spending money, that's bullshit. They're not happy. They're miserable. Only miserable people do that. That means they have no love in their life, no family, no children, no appreciation for beauty. Only just spending money. Do you know how depressing and horrible that sounds? That's Brave New World. That is Brave New World right there. Only happy for a little moment from spending and buying, consume, and then unhappy again. Because if you're only happy spending money, well then that means when you're not spending money, you're unhappy. Which means you have to be spending money all the time. If your only happiness comes from spending money, that means you have to be spending money every minute. Every minute you have to spend money, every single hour, or you're not happy. As soon as you stop, oh, now I'm not happy again. Now I'm bored again because I'm not spending money. So now I got to spend more. You better be super, 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 super rich if that's your mindset. And you're still, we see it, people who are super, super rich, lots and lots of them are not happy. They can buy anything they want. Okay, Candy's got a nice thought here. If I have good health and I work hard, the financial will automatically come to me. Money will come to me from Vietnam. Yeah, well, I would say this, that first of all, good health is far more important than money. And anyone who has bad health or who has had in the past some health problem, you immediately know this is the most important. This is very important. This is much more important than money. You suddenly don't care about money very much when you have a serious health problem. When you're healthy and strong, you can forget about it. You're not grateful for what you have. Most people. But good health is, in fact, super important. All old people, they all know this. Working hard is important. But you do need more than that, Candy, actually. To be financially free, working hard's not enough. Not enough. A lot of people work hard, but they're bad with money. They don't have enough self-discipline with money. So they're not saving. They never become independent. They actually become very stressed about money. So you actually do need a bit more than just working hard. Working hard's nice. It's good. But you need more than that. You need financial understanding. You need to know how it works. This book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, other books. Yeah, another short-sighted comment. Do whatever you want with your money. You're going to die. Yeah, so you are going to die. So do you want to be stressed out your whole life, a slave to money? Or do you want to be happy and relaxed? A master of money, a master of yourself. How do you want to live? It's not about, this is again, spend all your money. Just try it, Arian. Tell you what, try it. Let's do an experiment. All you guys who think that spending money is the answer to happiness, just try it. Spend all your money every month, every penny. Spend it all. You can even use credit cards. Why? You're going to die, so why not make a big debt? Get some credit cards and get a lot of debt. Take out some loans. Buy everything you want. Buy super expensive cars. Go to restaurants, very expensive restaurants. Live fully. Spend everything. Do this every month. And then come back in 1 year and tell me if your life is happier or less happy. I know the answer already, but just try it. Don't believe me. Just do it. Don't talk. Do it. If you really believe this, that's what you should do. Find out if it's true. Experiment. Do a test. Yeah, well, Paulika's got a good point about this. Right, the most precious thing is health. Unfortunately, we can't buy it with money. We buy it with self-discipline. How do you buy health, or at least preserve health, or create greater health? With your self-discipline, right? Controlling what you eat and knowledge. You need to know what to eat well, how to eat well. It's not that hard. But you need the self-discipline to do fasting, to eat healthy, and to exercise, to be active physically, and all these things. Those things require time, and they especially require, but more than anything, they require self-discipline. And that's how you buy, that's how you get your health. But you're right, you can't buy it. You can't just give money to someone and say, make me healthy. They can't do it. You have to do things to make yourself healthy, and they don't really require money. I love high-level problems, says Ibrahim Ali. Yeah, exactly. Tony talks about that, you will always have problems as long as you are alive, right? There's no life with no problems. Everybody has problems. The richest man in the world still has problems. But they have higher level problems, at least financially. They might actually have personal problems that are terrible. But let's just say financially, just talking about money only. But even the very, very rich, they have financial problems, right? They have problems with their investments. They lose money with investing. They don't know what to invest. But it's a much better problem to have than starving, right? You don't have enough money to eat. That's a terrible problem. That's a low-level problem. I don't have enough money for food. Or I lost $1,000 in the stock market. Oh, now I only have 10 million, That's obviously a better problem. Yeah, Zohar's correct. The publicity, media, TV, everything, all of it brainwashes us to consume. Consumption is a habit, and they do it subconsciously. That's correct. It's war. It's an unarmed war. That is correct also. It's a mental, it's Brave New World. We saw this in Brave New World. It's that to feed your mind, to consume, buy, like you're some kind of animal. Even animals don't just consume constantly. Like a locust. A locust is a bug that they just eat constantly, right? That's what they try to create in us. Instead of eating, just buying, consume, like some kind of mindless insect. Yeah, so this is a kind of common thinking, but I disagree with it. I agree with Robert Kiyosaki more about this. If you get a loan to buy a home, it's good, then you don't waste money to pay rent. Yeah, that's what they say. That's kind of the brainwashing. Then you only have payment for a monthly loan. And then if you pay off the home, you have good for your family. Yes, but the problem is you now have a huge debt. Until you pay the loan, you really don't own that house. The bank owns the house. For what? Most people, it's like 30 years. Those loans are 30 years you're taking. And guess what? You have to spend a huge amount of money for most loans. Sometimes it's no money down, no down payment, but most situations you have to pay part of that amount, give it to the bank, and then they give you a loan. It's 10%, let's say 10%. Still, if you buy a house for $100,000, that's $10,000 you give the bank for the loan. So now your $10,000 that you saved is gone. You're now at zero savings. Plus, you owe Well, technically you owe $90,000, but because of the interest rates, see, this is the part you're not, Namadi, you're missing. You're paying interest, compounding interest that just keeps growing and growing. So in fact, the price you're paying is like double or more. I think it's better to keep the $10,000. And the other thing is, when you buy a house, when you have this loan, now you're not flexible, right? You're locked into this expense. It's not easy to cut your living expenses, the amount you're paying for your house, right? Because you have to sell the house and do the rent. It's much more difficult. If you're renting, it's not yours. You can just leave. Maybe if you have a lease, you can leave in 1 year. Or you can just, a lot of leases, you can break the lease if you give them like 2 months notice or something. So in just 2 months, you can leave and move to a cheaper place. So it's very flexible. You can keep cutting your living expense, your housing expense. You can cut it very fast that way. And this is what I did. Now, when you have lots of extra money, like I could buy a house, but I just I don't know. If you want to buy a house, it's okay, but it's not a good financial choice. I'll just say that. It has other benefits, perhaps, but as Robert Kiyosaki said, I agree with him, the house is a liability. It's sucking out money. It's using up your savings just to get the loan, and now the bank owns the house for 20 years, 30 years, whatever. So I know if I have money saved, I'd rather use it to start a business or invest it or do something else. If you are in California, MNG says, if you're in California, rent is so expensive. Yes, it is. Not only California now, really most of America, but California is terrible. Abdullah Osman says, since I started listening to your shows on economics and financial information, my views towards them are changed totally. I'm happy to have heard that before it became too late. Thanks a lot. Oh, that's why I'm doing it. I was in the same position when I was through my 20s, certainly in my 20s and maybe early 30s of my life, the age. I was in a terrible financial situation, and it was super stressful. And I thought, like some of these other people who have commented, and believe me, it doesn't lead to happiness. Okay. And then in my 30s, I started to gain control following this system in this book. It's why we're doing this book, because I used it. This is before I started a business, before my income went up very much. I cut my expenses, cut. And even living with getting that self-control, the self-discipline, the financial self-discipline, it gives you great happiness. It reduces so much stress. I promise you, it's better, not worse. It's just like food. Like, you people making the argument of just spend money because you only live once and why not die? Well, you can make the same argument with food. Just eat. Constantly eat. Just eat anything you want. Why should you eat healthy? Why should you control your eating? You only live once, and eating makes you happy. That's what fat people say. Eating makes me happy. It makes me happy. And so they eat cake and ice cream and cookies. We all like it, right? That junk, it tastes good. That's why it's popular. It's why people eat it, not because it tastes bad. So why should you have self-control? Why stop yourself? Just eat and eat and eat and eat and eat every day, everything you want, cookies and cake and ice cream and anything. Just eat a lot. It makes you happy. You're going to die anyway, so why not? It's obvious. We all know, because we all know that it's only short term. That, yes, you will feel quite good for a while eating like that. It's fun. But we all know what happens long term. After months and months and months and years and years and years, you become a big fat pig and you feel terrible and you get more diseases and you become weak and tired and your body hurts all the time. And long term, you become a very, very, very unhappy person. Also psychologically, people kind of miss this part, but psychologically, by having zero self-control, by having no self-discipline, by becoming an addict, a food addict, addicted to food, you kind of don't respect yourself. This is what I've noticed. Well, the same thing happens with money. Okay, it's the same exact type of situation with money. Just spend, 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 buy, buy, buy. You're an addict to spending, to buying a bunch of nonsense stuff. And short term, you might feel some pleasure, just like the fat person. You feel some pleasure short term. But long term, it leads to a great, huge, big amount of unhappiness. Okay? So it's the same with food. It's the same with, we can go on and on about any of these kind of consumption pleasures. Drugs are the same way, guys. Drugs, it's exactly the same with drugs or alcohol. Again, why not just take drugs? They make you feel good. Okay? That's why people become addicted. They feel good. Drugs don't feel bad. I think sometimes in school they lie to the children that drugs are terrible. They feel bad. No, they don't. Of course they don't feel bad. If they felt bad, no one would become addicted. You don't become addicted to things that feel bad. Okay? Let's just say cocaine. Cocaine makes you feel great, high energy. Woo, I feel great. You feel more confident. So it makes you happy. Why not just do cocaine every day? Why not just do more and more? You're going to die anyway. It makes you happy. You feel good when you do cocaine. Why not just do cocaine every day? More and more, as much as you want. Why not? It's the same argument you guys are making about money. Because again, we all know, because we can see that again, short-term drugs do make you feel good. Of course they do. But we all know what happens long-term. You've seen enough Hollywood movies to know what happens to people. Maybe you know someone in your own life with alcohol or drugs, and you've seen it personally. What happens? Oh yeah, it's all fun, party, fun for a while. And then what? Then their whole life is destroyed. Long term, it destroys them. They become incredibly unhappy, miserable. So, it's the same mindset of consuming more pleasure right now. And if you do it with money, it's the same end result. You're not going to be happy, guys. So it's why I'm trying to warn you. But you know what? You're adults, so do what you want. Do what you want. If you don't believe me, go for it. See what happens. Well, exactly, Priscilla. Priscilla says, I feel that everything is connected. Yes, right? To be able to save money, to be able to fight against vices and bad desires, to do physical exercise, to meditate, to fast, to pray. One thing strengthens the other. Well, exactly, because what's the common thing here? Self-discipline, self-control, virtue, self-mastery, mastery of yourself, right? So exactly, it's a underneath it is that strength of self-control, self-discipline, self-mastery. And then the opposite, that's why the opposite, the negative side, they're also connected, right? Just no self-control. So just an addict to your desires, an addict to pleasures, to short-term pleasures. It might be drugs, it might be food, it might be spending money, sex, whatever. And those all lead to bad things long-term. Exactly right. And what's great about this is that as you gain self-control in one area of your life, it does make it easier to do it in other parts of your life. Like if you get financial control, you kind of make your mind becomes stronger. It becomes easier to gain control over eating, or like my favorite is fasting now. Number one right now, I believe, is fasting. Fasting. I believe fasting will help you in all other areas of life. I'm fasting right now. I'm doing 48-hour, 2-day fasts. I did one, I ate, and now I'm doing another one. But anyway, I have just seen these great benefits. Like, it just gives me so much self-discipline and self-control. When you can control your desire for food and just not eat, for 2 days or 3 days or longer, and not eat at all, and you can do that again and again and again, not just one time, but you can do it as a habit, you gain a lot of kind of power, self-control, and you can use that self-power, that self-control with other parts of your life. Exercising, learning. Like for me, I find that it helps me have more discipline to study Japanese, because I get the self-control from fasting, and now I kind of use that same self-control to do more listening, to do more reading in Japanese, more studying, and Spanish too. And it can just affect all different areas of your life. So I think fasting is a great way. If you can't control your spending, you're having a very difficult time controlling your spending, you're like kind of a money addict, try fasting. Try to do some fasting. Then you might find that you get a great amount of self-control, and you can then use that power, that strength. It's kind of like lifting weights. I feel like fasting is like lifting weights for your mind. And it helps so many things, not just food. Yeah, like Abdul says, this is true. This is 100% true. It's why I don't argue with people too much. There are some kinds of people you can't convince them until they experience themselves. Maybe most people. So that's why I'm happy to share these ideas. But in the end, that's what I like about independent learning. You're the master of your own life. If you want to spend money constantly, do it. You don't have to listen to me, right? I'm not your dad. So you don't have to follow me. I'm sharing some information, but that's it. That's why I say I'm a coach, right? I'm the coach. You don't have to listen to me. You are the boss of your own life. Same with food. If you just want to eat and eat bad stuff, it's okay. Go ahead. Yeah, like Slavika says, self-control is the most important thing in your life. If you have self-control, you'll be healthy, no financial problems, and happy. Well, indeed. And it kind of connects back to, you can see why I like that book so much, that 7 Habits book, because it connects back to what is the thing in life, the one thing in life you have the most control over, potentially. Yourself, right? Yourself. You have the most power over yourself. Over other people, you have less power. You have less influence. You can influence some people in your life, but they don't have to listen to you. Even your own children will sometimes go against you. But yourself, if you work hard, if you do this, you can learn how to master yourself, at least to a high level. This is where you have the most power in your life, is your own self-control, your own self-discipline. And so many people, they're focused on everybody else. I want to control other people. I want to discipline other people. I want other people or the whole world to change. But you have much less power with other people. With a lot of people, with most people, you have zero power, none. You can't make them do anything. You can't make them change, and they probably won't. So if you focus on the other people and on the outside, then you become quite unhappy because you feel weak, because you are weak. But when you focus on yourself, you do have a lot of power to change yourself. You have a lot of power to change yourself and to control how you live your life. And this, as you do it more and more, this feeling of power in your life gets stronger and stronger, and this does create a lot of happiness, actually. You will feel good. Yes, exactly. Muslims know about this. Ramadan is the Muslim month of fasting, which we talked about when I was fasting a lot during Ramadan, before Ramadan. I have no words to explain the highest levels of self-mastery at the end of this month. Exactly. Why do you think that it is taught? It was taught by, I assume, Muhammad. I'm not sure if I'm right about that, but in Muslims have a whole month of fasting. Why? Because it is there's so many reasons, but self-mastery and self-control, self-discipline and why do you want self-discipline, self-control, all these things? Because it does lead to a higher and greater happiness. Of course, there are spiritual and religious benefits as well, connecting you closer to God, and your prayers become more meaningful. There are physical benefits. If you are interested in the physical benefits, check out the snake diet, snake like the animal, snake diet on YouTube. Great physical benefits of fasting. You guys know I love fasting and I'm crazy about it. And I'll do more shows about fasting. I'm fasting right now again. I was starting to gain a little weight, so I just started fasting. Easy. Losing weight. It's the best way to lose weight. Anyway, we're supposed to talk about money, but I could talk about fasting for a long time. Yeah, someone's kind of joking, we eat more during Ramadan, and then the next person says, we eat more in Ramadan if you take this choice. Exactly. It's your choice. You don't have to eat more in Ramadan. I think it's better if you don't. So you get even more benefit from the fasting. Eat your meal, your one meal, but don't go crazy. We can talk about fasting. Why not? Am I doing a 48-hour dry fast? No, not this time. I'm only doing just water. No, not dry this time. Fasting means not eating. It's really simple. Don't eat. It's the act of not eating, the non-act. Oh, nice. Jeremy, let's talk about our grandmother. Again, how you can find great happiness. It's not about spending money or spending more money. I'm talking about her grandmother. She only used medicinal herbs. So these are herbs like plants. So plants that would heal diseases. It's very simple foods. Foods from her own small homestead. Goat milk, potatoes, homemade bread. Exactly. You can grow your own food and it's higher quality. It tastes better, it's healthier, and it's cheaper. So you can see how even if you're into food, like someone joked about being a chef, but it doesn't mean you don't like food. It just means you're not an addict, right? And you can, if a chef, the highest quality restaurants, I know in the United States, they actually get their food from farms. They have local farms. A lot of them have local farms. They have like a contract with them to get the best, highest quality food. And some of them even grow their own. They have their own gardens or their own little farms. They save money doing that, but they also get the highest quality. They're doing it because of the quality. Okay, a couple more, and then I gotta go. What time is it? Oh, yeah, I gotta go soon. GE, welcome. GE says, I usually listen to your podcast. This is my first time watching you performing live. I enjoy your stuff. I am from Kosovo originally, but I live in North Carolina. I've been to North Carolina many times. Nice place. Welcome. Ahmed says, do you think putting money in the bank and taking the interest is a good idea? They don't pay much interest anymore. Again, I can only talk about the situation in the United States, but the interest rates are basically nothing. You're not going to make any money doing that. I don't know. You can put it in a bank for convenience because it's maybe better than putting it under your bed. but you're not going to make much money from that. I wouldn't call that investing, really. We'll talk more about how to invest in later chapters. And again, you don't want investing advice from me because I'm not great at it. So mostly what I will talk about are just some very general ways that people invest. And I'll talk about try to protect yourself, low risk. That's the mindset of this book, the writers of this book. It's my personal mindset too. Now, some of you are more interested in making more money from investing. You want to be more skilled and you want to take more risks and be more aggressive. That's all fine, but it's just I can't teach you that because I can't do it myself. So you have to learn that somewhere else. Yasin says, some people respect you based on how much money you have. If you have a lot of money, they respect you a lot. Yep, some people do. So what? Yeah, but the truth is that they don't really respect how much money you have. They respect how rich you appear. It's really appearance that they respect. Because how do they know? You might have someone who dresses very simply. They drive a simple car, but they are super rich. They have a huge amount of money. And you also have people who maybe they're not poor, but they're making, not a lot of money. They're not super rich, but they buy really expensive things. They drive a Mercedes or Ferrari. I always say Ferrari. I think they're expensive. And they appear rich. And many times people will respect, the person who appears rich, even though they have less money than the other person who's living more simply. So overall, it's just like, who cares? I mean, who cares what they think? It doesn't matter what they think. Don't live your life based on what, other people's opinions, because no point. You just be unhappy if you do that. Because again, you can't control it really. Yeah, Lisa makes a good point. If we read books on financial advice, we need to look at when they were written. Things may have happened since, such as a crisis. Yeah, this is the problem with investing. This is why I don't do it much now, because the situation now in all the markets, it's just, it's really, really, really risky. You can't, there's really it's all based on bullshit, basically. It all could collapse at any time. So, yeah, you got to be very careful. Fernanda says, I've not had a lot of financial advice since when I was younger, but I have been learning a lot with you in our book club. I've already been applying this knowledge to my kids. Great. Fernanda, I didn't learn it when I was young either. I learned the hard way, as we say in English. I learned the hard way. Through failure and pain, I learned. And reading a lot of books. I had the failure and the pain first with money, a lot of it. And then I got sick of it, started getting tired of it. So I started reading lots of books about it and trying different things, and it still took a while. So sometimes you have to learn the hard way. But it's nice if you're a parent, if you can teach it to your children, and hopefully, as parents, we always hope to help them avoid learning the hard way. But as some people have to learn the hard way. You can't tell them. They won't listen to advice. You have to let them learn the hard way. It's just okay. Just let them do it. Thank you, Pavel. Pavel says, I like you. You're the best teacher. Thank you, Pavel. Okay, I'll take like two more and then then time to go. Islam says, I spend a lot of money on buying new clothes. I'm almost broke because of that reason. I don't have the concept of saving money. Well, Islam, it's okay. Don't get like stressed out about it. Okay, now this is a good first step. You see the situation. You understand. You understand that this is the one area where you're really losing money is clothes. That's so, okay, fine. No problem, right? Like I said, when I was younger, it was rent and food. I was eating at restaurants. Way too much I was spending on restaurants. And so that's the first step. You realize it. What am I doing? I'm spending so much money in these areas. And then like step 2, like in this book, you have to ask the question, is it worth it? Am I getting enough happiness from these clothes? Because I'm getting kind of financial stress. I have to work to pay for these clothes. That's a lot of hours I'm working. Is it worth it? Am I really getting enough happiness from the clothes? If the answer is yes, then I guess keep doing it. But if usually the answer is no, and that's when you can start to think, well, all right, maybe it's time to control my spending on clothes a little bit. And again, you do it a little bit. You don't have to do all of it suddenly, but each month, try to cut how much you spend on clothes. And you can do this in many ways. Just buy less, number one. Or, try to find used clothes. You can find some really cool, fashionable clothes that are used, on eBay or whatever. Anyway, there's lots of ways to do it, but, step by step. So Islam, there's no reason to get too upset about it. It's a common situation. Everyone has something different. As I said, for me, it was not clothes. For me, it was, certainly rent. For most people, I think, rent or house. But then the one that was really unnecessary was restaurants. That's just because I was lazy. I didn't want to cook. So that's, All right, I'll do one more. Last one. Okay, Dalima, you have a super interesting question that I have heard of, but I'm not going to talk about it now because our topic is money. But Dalima Nazario asked me that question Monday or Tuesday, next time, like when I'm not doing this specific topic, and I'll talk about it because it is very fascinating. I've just recently been watching some videos about it, and it's kind of interesting. Okay, so we got one last question, I said, right? I said I'd take one more. Okay, who gets the last question? Okay, Vladimir Medvedev, because it's a excellent point. Vladimir says, of course, books help. Yes, knowledge, ideas. But most of all, we have to act. Ding. Do something without stopping. Exactly. That's right. Just the knowledge is not enough. You have to take action and just try things. That's why I say, even people who are disagreeing with me, I'll give you my response. I'll respond. But after that, I'm not going to continue arguing. I'll just say, just try it. Just try it. Get out in the world and try things and see what happens. And you can learn a lot in life by just taking actions, even bad actions, even by making mistakes, taking actions that get bad results. Well, if you pay attention, you'll realize, I'm getting a bad result. This action, not so good. And now you learn something, and you learn it very well. Then you ask, what can I do better? What's a better action? So that's right. And then you can go to books. Books are good because they suggest other ways, other methods, other actions to try. You don't have to agree with the books. Don't look at a book like you read a book and you think, oh, I agree with this 100%. Just instead read the book and think it has ideas, it's suggestions, things to try. Try the things in the book. Maybe some things in the book don't work. You don't like them. They don't fit you. Whatever. That's okay. You still learn, but you have to try it in the real world. But many times you'll read books, you'll get an idea, you'll try it, like this today's topic, the wall chart. You'll try it, and then you realize, this does work. It is helping me. And you just keep doing that. Actions, actions, actions. When you can't think of a new action to try, something to do, go read some more and then try some more. And it's that combination of getting information and suggestions and then getting in the real world and doing. And that combination is very powerful. So thank you, Vladimir. Very well. All right, tomorrow, Movie Club, we continue with our movie Jerry Maguire. And actually, there's an extra scene I forgot about. So tomorrow we'll do the scene. He has a party, an engagement party. He's getting married, Jerry, our main character. So there's that party, and then after that, I believe, is when he gets fired. So I'll see how much we can do tomorrow. But anyway, it's a wonderful movie. You got to follow me on social media here on gab.com, AJ Hogue. If you're watching on video, you can see it. But that's where I'll announce the exact time when I'm going live. And I do the movie club is on Twitch. It's not on YouTube. It's not on Facebook. It's on twitch.tv, my account there. All right, so I will see you tomorrow for our movie club. And next week, we will continue to chapter 6 of this book, Your Money or Your Life. Mwah! Lots of love to you. See you next time.